Good morning. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I'm going to continue with the series of getting started with cattle on your homestead. Today, I'm going to cover veterinary medications and supplies. So it should be a little bit shorter. It's a little bit more straightforward, and the information will be much shorter than the other previous videos have been. It'll be a little easier to get through, but there will be a little research required on your end. Know that all of the medications that I am recommending or that I am using are medications that are used in my area. I highly recommend that you talk to a large animal vet in your area and find out the best vaccines and medications for animals in your specific area. Every area's got different requirements, and this is not a full list of requirements. You're going to need multiple other things. That I don't have listed. I'll use antibiotics for an example. If you live in, say, Florida, and your cattle are in water regularly, or their feet are submerged, or pardon me, different things like that, you're going to need different things for different purposes. If you end up with an animal that has like a foot problem, say hoof rot or something like that, you're going to need different antibiotics. I mentioned the other day lump jaw. If they get an infection in, say, they get a foxtail embedded in the inner side of their cheek, that'll create like lump jaw, and you'll need different antibiotics for that. So I highly recommend that you talk to a large animal veterinarian in your area and ensure that you are protecting your animals for everything that is required in your area. We primarily use about 4 vaccines, and this is just a regular treatment of animals. Um, we do this generally in the spring and in the fall. There are things that we may use additionally if we see, say, there's a large hatch of flies, or the cows are being swarmed by flies and different things like that. We may bring them in for an additional dose of Poron. If we see they're getting like little splotches on their hide or something like that, getting some lice problems or some mange type problems, we may bring them in and give them an additional dose of Poron. But typically those things are twice a year for us in our area. We usually do that when it warms up. We'll bring everybody in, we'll treat everyone, and then we'll put them back out. Generally, this is when we'll pull the bulls in, keep them isolated. It will give the cows the opportunity to calve and get everybody going up on their feet. And then once everybody is born and doing well, from there, then we will turn the bulls out a little later in July for us, and that kind of thing. And then in the fall, when we are going to wean, we'll pull everybody in again, and we'll treat everyone, and we'll keep the calves in. We'll kick the mamas out. The bulls we can leave out with the mamas. We'll keep the calves in and go from there. If you watch me regularly, you'll know that we still have our calves in. We're about to treat in the spring here. We're going to kick all the calves out. We're going to keep the bulls in, and we'll probably keep that one large steer in as well. So I'm just going to cover the things that we use, the number of treatments that size will treat, and the method of the treatment itself for your information. Like I said one last time, I highly recommend you speak to a large animal veterinarian in your area and find out exactly what they recommend for your area for treatment. The federal government has changed regulations so that it's difficult to get many of the medications. You have to have a literally a prescription from a veterinarian, and a veterinarian has got to be, quote, familiar with your animals. So you may have to have a vet visit so they can come out, take a look at your animals, make sure they're in good condition. And then from there, once the vet's familiar with your animal, they can start prescribing different medications and treatments so that you have them on hand. It's always good to have antibiotics on hand, um, things like that, so that you are prepared in the case that an animal gets needs medications right now. You don't want to be trying to get a hold of a vet. Maybe a vet's not in town. Maybe they can't prescribe it or whatever. It becomes problematic if you have an animal that needs treated right away. So it's good to have some antibiotics and different things on hand prior to needing them. All right, let's get going on these medications. Really quickly before I continue, I would just like to ask that if you're getting anything out of these videos or if you're enjoying them, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I really do look forward to the comments. I respond to every comment and look forward to hearing what you do in your area, or the different things that you do in your area that I'm not doing in my area, or different processes, different things that your cows or your animals may come across in the area that you're in. For example, Florida, like I said, the possibility of blackleg or hoof rot or different things like that. I'm really interested in learning about every area that people are watching from. So if you're getting anything out of this, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you. The first medication that I'm listing here is called Virus Shield. You can see that it's a 50 ml bottle and it costs just under $40. The amount that is given to each cow, say it's a 1,300-pound cow, is going to be 5 mils. In this 50 ml bottle, it's going to treat 10 animals, and that's an IM injection. IM means intramuscular, which means into the muscle itself. So generally that's given into the neck once you get the animal in your area that you're going to be treating everything. You get it into a head gate. Generally their neck is exposed, and that's what I was explaining in the previous video about corrals. At that point, you would give that injection directly into the muscle of the neck. This treats lepto and several other bacterias that can kill your animals. So it's important that you give this. It generally, if you're unfamiliar with the animal, if you've just purchased this animal, generally you'll give this treatment to your animal, and then 4 or 5 weeks later, you'll give a booster to that animal. And then after that, generally you'll treat once a year. So you can do it in the spring every year, or you can do it in the fall every year. But generally it's best to do that every year to ensure that they are treated for these bacteria. The next is going to be a Dectomax Pour-On. That's 1 liter, costs $127. It is 1 milliliter per every 22 pounds of weight for a cow. Generally, for a 1,300-pound cow, it's going to take 59 milliliters, and that treats about 1,100 to 1,300-pound cows. This is a pour-on, meaning it literally has like a squirt gun type of a thing, and you literally pour from the shoulder to the tail right along the spine, and that will actually kind of go over their coat and over their skin and treat for internal and external parasites, things like lung worms, grubs, lice, mange, etc. Generally, we'll do that once or twice a year, depending on how the animals are doing. It may, if we've had a lot of rain shortly after the treatment, and we start seeing the animals are getting a little splotchy in their hair or something like that, looking like possibly lice or mange, we may bring them in for one additional treatment, but we generally do that twice a year. The next would be Covexin 8. And Covexin 8, we're getting a 50 ml bottle for $17.99, 5 mils per animal, meaning it's going to give 10 doses of your animals. So that should be good for your cows and your calves. This is given intramuscular, IM, or sub-Q. It's not actually spelled with a Q, it's subcutaneous. So it can actually be given either in the muscle, or you can pull up a little of the skin or their hide and inject it under the skin, not into the muscle. Either way is fine. It will be absorbed into the muscle, or if you give it under sub-Q, it'll also be taken into the muscle as well. This treats different things like black leg and multiple different things that cows can get. One thing it does carry for us is tetanus. Um, we have to have the tetanus first if they get on barbed wire, which they almost always are getting scratched on barbed wire, different things, but primarily more for the bull calves. When we treat the bull calves, excuse me, when we band the bull calves, they require this tetanus to ensure that they don't get tetanus and become sick or die. Again, same thing. This is given once, and then 6 weeks later, you generally give another 2 mil subcutaneous dose as a booster for them. You can see that I listed again as a 2 mil booster, IM or subcutaneous. The last thing we use in our area is valbazin. To purchase a 500 mil bottle of that, it's $55.99, $56. So every 100 pounds of weight for your animal, you need 4 mils. It takes 52 mils for a 1,300 pound cow. So it's just under 10 doses for your regular cow, and that is called an oral drench. Oral drench is a metal tube or a plastic tube that you kind of insert in the corner of their mouth, and it goes in far enough that it gives the medication on basically on the back of their tongue. You don't want it too deep, and you don't want it out on the front of their tongue. You have to have kind of the right um, tool or equipment to give this medication. Otherwise, if it's too forward in the front of their mouth, they'll literally just kind of spit the whole wad out, and you've lost the money entirely for the medication. They'll waste every bit of that medication. So it should be applied properly so that you have so they're properly protected and you're not wasting a bunch of money. This is for liver flukes, tapeworms, stomach worms, intestinal things for cattle and sheep. Again, it's 4 mils for every 100 pounds of your cattle. So for us, for the average annual dosage or treatment of the animals, we're looking at 240.97. It's actually because of the number of animals we have, we're looking at about, oh geez, 500, maybe $600 annually just in the medications themselves. So these are important. You don't want to skip these. It sure doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money, go get a bunch of cows, and the next thing you know, they get sick and start dying, or they aren't performing, or they're not keeping weight. They become sickly, losing weight, or whatever. If you spend that kind of money, you want to take care of your investment and make sure that they're in good condition and they're able to have good calves and raise calves that are healthy, strong, and build weight like they should. The last thing I'm going to cover is going to be the equipment required to give these medications. Some of this is not required, and you can get by with different methods. So I've listed different methods for things that aren't quite required. So the Dectomax pour-on gun, so that you're accurate and repeatable on the dosage, these guns have a setting so that you can set the precise amount of pour-on of the Dectomax that you require for your animals. Say you get Dexter cows, which are a smaller cow overall. So rather than being a 1,200-pound animal, it may be a 700 or 800-pound animal. Similarly, if you get steers or heifers or whatever, you're going to need to adjust the dosage for the size of animal that you're treating. The Dectomax pour-on guns have a like a rotating sleeve that will change the adjustment so that when you draw the gun, it actually gets the precise amount of medication that's required for the size animal that you're treating. So I didn't really have an option other than the pour-on gun itself in this case. So the Dectomax pour-on gun is going to be $30 basically, $29.99. For anything that's going to be injectable, such as the IM or the subcutaneous different injections, I list a repeater syringe for $68.95. All of these you can get online for roughly this price. I checked several places, and these are pretty much the standard prices for this equipment. If you have one cow or even just a couple, 2 or 3 cows, it's not required to use the repeater syringe. The reason we purchased it is because we have several animals and it makes things much faster. They are adjustable, the same as the pour-on guns are. So if we're treating 500-pound calves and 1,300-pound cows, we can just change the adjustment setting on it and we get the proper dosage per animal, and we don't have to worry about remembering each time with the syringe. That said, you can use syringes. I used a 18 gauge. It's like $19, $18.95 for 100 of these syringes. You can draw individually the amount required per animal for whatever medication that you're giving each animal. For us, it doesn't make sense. It becomes a headache when we're out there. If you're out there in the sun and you're treating, 30 cows and 20 calves, you don't want to stand there in the sun overly long, trying to draw up, okay, how much does this animal weigh? This one weighs 600 pounds. Okay, how much is that? For us, it's easiest just to use the repeater gun. We try to work all the cows through at the same time so we aren't changing the setting. We treat all the cows, we push them out, we'll run the calves through. Depending on the time of year, we may hold the calves back, whatever. But we can just change the setting on the gun and give the shots, and it's much faster for us to do it that way. Whatever works best for you. Like I said, if you've only got 3 cows, it probably doesn't make sense to spend the $70 for a repeater syringe if you got 3 animals. Get your syringes and give your 3 vaccinations, and this 100 bucks will last a long time. I do also list a banding tool and bands. The reason I did that is because kind of the nature of this series is that if you get 5 bred cows, you're going to have 5 calves. Um, I would expect, but I'm not sure, you're going to do whatever is best for you in your circumstance and your situation. But for us, we band the majority of our bull calves to turn them into steers. This is the easiest way for us to band it. It's we don't have any open wounds on the animal. There's no blood, there's no bleeding, there's no cutting, and it seems the most humane way of doing it for us. My wife treats them with lidocaine prior to banding, and um, this is what's best for us. The banding tool I looked at, there are cheaper ones, less expensive, but they're actually, if you've got more than 2 or 3 calves, they can be difficult to hold open and get them banded properly, holding it in your hand and that kind of thing. Especially if you're not familiar with it, it can become a little difficult. This banding type tool, once you squeeze it, it stays open, holds itself open so that you can get everything, the testicles in the band as it should be, and you're not having to clamp and squeeze it open the entire time. It holds itself open. You get everything done as it should. Then you release the tool and you take it off. It's for me, that's the best thing that's out there. Make sure that you get the bands that are the right size for your animal. If you're banding your calves when they're first born to about 3 months, you're going to want a really small band. If you're waiting until the fall, which typically we do, we're going to get something that covers an animal that is 250 pounds to 700 pounds, somewhere in there, something along those lines. So basically, for our equipment, you're looking at $200, and for the vaccinations and different things, you're looking at $240, $250. So you're looking at about $400, $450 annually for that first year. Once you have the equipment here, once you have that equipment, you're going to want to maintain it after you give the vaccinations and different things. You're going to want to clean all your syringes, all the pour-on guns, all the drenching guns. You can see that I list the drenching gun for $29.95. That is the one that actually goes in the corner of their mouth and has the tube that applies the medication directly on the back of their tongue. I'm not sure if I covered that here, but that is it's pretty important to make sure that you're not wasting the medication. You want it to be applied in the proper location so that it's absorbed properly and taken in properly, and not just wasted and dumped back on the ground as the cow spits it out. So for 1 year, you're looking at about $450. You should be good on your equipment after that, and you should not need to purchase that again. And your medications you'll need to purchase each year. As your herd grows, if you're growing your herd, this vaccination amount is going to increase. If you just maintain your 5 animals, this should be good for you every year. I will say that when you purchase animals, sometimes at the sale barn, the seller of the cows will list everything they've been treated with. So they may tell you that it's already been treated with like a Covexin 8, or they may use a different medication, but as long as it treats for your tetanus and your different, your black leg and your different things, as long as they say it's been treated this year for those things, you may not be required to treat for those medications again, at least in the spring. You may want to do it again in the fall just to ensure everyone's up to date, but it depends on who the seller is and what they've already treated your animals for. So, for me, if it's not listed and I was purchasing new animals, I would treat everything just to make sure my animals are treated properly. I don't want to get animals and get them, have them become sickly, or then I have to start treating for different things that I'm unsure of. I would rather just ensure that they're all treated and taken care of from the beginning. I hope you've got something out of this video. If you did, as I asked before, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I really do look forward to the comments. If you feel that there's someone you know that may get something out of this video, please share it. It's just good information across the board for pretty much anyone who's got cattle or is interested in maybe getting cattle. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.